what's going on? Like, I thought my phone was tripping out because the views just kept going and going and going. So I was like, okay, cool. Like, TikTok really does like videos like this. So I was like, I'm gonna post more.
Very wavy. We're so excited to have you here at Latido Music by Mitu. Thank you for joining us. We just want to know a little bit more about you and your career.
I was actually born in Mexico City, DF, and then I moved around a little bit in Mexico. And then my dad, he ended up getting a job offer here in the United States. So we're the first of our family to be here in the United States. Like, it's just four of us here. So it's kind of crazy. Whenever we moved, I was like, oh my gosh, we're moving to the US. Like, that's such a big thing in Mexico. So we finally moved here. I was about second grade, I want to say, is whenever we moved here. Yeah. So I've been here for a minute. And then, yeah, I just grew up here. It wasn't until high school that then I started to be really, experimenting with like, okay, maybe I can DJ. I've always loved music. Like ever since I was little, my dad played it all the time around the house. Like music has just always been in my life.
Did you teach yourself like through YouTube videos, or like how did you like really start becoming a DJ? Like did someone give you the equipment? Like, here you go, here's what you need to do, or were you like self-taught?
I was self-taught. Every time somebody asked me like, yo, what's the best advice? Like, I want to become a DJ. I'm like, YouTube. They're like, no, what advice do you have? I'm like, literally YouTube. You can find anything on YouTube. That's how I started out. I looked up like beginners for DJs, just anything, or just watching DJ sets, seeing like how a DJ was able to control a crowd and stuff like that. That's a big part of it too. So yes, literally YouTube. I self-taught, and that's how I started out. It was a lot of mess ups before we got to the good stuff.
Were you on TikTok before the pandemic, or like you were just like, did someone tell you, like, hey, you should try like uploading your sets there?
I remember I got TikTok like before the pandemic, and I was just kind of like, let's see what these kids are doing, because it was like the new app. So I was like, okay, this is cool. If you go back on my TikTok and you scroll all the way at the bottom, there's like one video where I posted where it was me doing a DJ transition. It isn't really going on here. So I was like, okay, like I didn't think too much of it, but usually what I would do on my Instagram stories, I would prop my phone like right there, how the TikTok videos, and I would just put them on my stories. And I noticed that people were really liking seeing that type of stuff, like the up close and personal. So one day I was just like, I'm gonna try and put what I usually put on my Instagram stories, I'm gonna try and put it on TikTok. And then I did it. I did like 3 videos back to back. And then one of them started going crazy. And I was just like, what's going on? Like, I thought my phone was tripping out because the views just kept going and going and going. So I was like, okay, cool. Like TikTok really does like videos like this. So I was like, I'm gonna post more.
How do you feel about, being, I guess, like at the forefront of like leading this new wave of Latina DJs taking the scene?
Honestly, I have no words for it because to me, I'm just me and I'm out here doing this. But whenever I hear like people say that, I'm like, wow, that really is true. So it's nice. It's exciting because what makes me really happy is whenever I see like young girls in my comments that are like, oh my God, you inspire me. And it's like girls that look like me, like Hispanic, Latina, and like they look at me and they're like, wow, I can do that too because I see somebody that looks like me. So I think that's like the most beautiful part about it, is to be able to inspire people that look like you.
Talking about, Latin artists, which Latin artists do you think that have influenced you?
I love me some Bad Bunny, J Balvin. But then, of course, we got to go with the OGs, Daddy Yankee, Wisin y Yandel. So I don't know. It's so many. Like when you say that, my mind just goes through my Serato and I just start scrolling through all these artists. Like it's impossible because there's so many and they're so amazing. And the fact that they're able to still influence like the newer generation, like you can see how beautiful it is. Like the love that like Daddy Yankee and like J Balvin have to each other. Like it's never on some, oh, you're crossing a line. It's like, no, like, come on, let's do this. So I think that's pretty dope. I love that.
Yeah. Which plans do you have for this year? Because I know you have some parties set up right now, some tickets going.
Yes, coming up, we have our party returning, Very Latin. So Very Latin is the second party under my own production company. So that party is really special just because I own everything. Like we go to the venue, like it's full 100% ownership. And I think that's been one of my biggest goals from the beginning, is showing that we're not just DJs. Like we don't just press buttons, like we're event curators. We put on shows. Like there's so much stuff that goes behind the scenes than just me sitting here propping my phone up and practicing. Like you have to think about tickets. You think about, okay, how do we make this an experience for everybody? And I'm grateful that I have a team that is willing to, come up with these great ideas with me, and we're able to curate them and bring them to people in a special, special way.
The top 5 Latin party bangers that every party needs.
You see, that's a really hard question because I could tell you 5 songs right now, but it really depends on the crowd and in the moment. So let's say like right now, for sure, people are like, oh my God, you have to play Zafaera. You know, like that's a song that would go right now. But there's been times where I've done live, like streaming DJ sets of Very Lion, and I never played the song once just because that's not what was in the moment. So you really have to look at a crowd, see it, and feel it to know what song will go. But 2 songs that I for sure love throwing in there. I love putting in Oye Mi Canto because I just love how it's such a classic, but it's like, it represents everybody. Like I love songs that shout out everybody, like Yo Le Llego by Bad Bunny and J Balvin, whenever the Colombia, Ya Le Llego, and they just start naming all these different countries. It's amazing because as Latinos, there's so many of us. We look so different. We're dark, we're light, like we're all shades of the spectrum. And I think that's beautiful. So I love when songs shout out all these different places to be like, yeah, that's me. That's me.
2 more that you can think of that you're like every time you play, you're like, okay, people just, you know, they love
Gasolina.
it. And then the last one?
Ivy Queen, Yo Quiero Bailar.